our fellow Tennesseans are suffering, and they're suffering greatly at the hands of a largely corrupted judiciary, because we as citizens have failed to perform our civic duty, no fault of our own. We've just had our knowledge oppressed for so long. We don't even know what our civic duty is. We don't know what our proper form of government is. But we have to start performing our civic duty. So tonight I'm going to talk about this breakdown in the government. It's a blatant, obvious violation of our state constitution, and government just says we don't care. I'm gonna walk you through this, and we have to be outraged. I'm telling you, when this problem gets fixed, everything else is going to start to fall in place. But what our citizens are suffering at the hands of a largely corrupted judiciary, extortion under color of law, causing people to lose their homes, to lose their life savings, wrongful imprisonment, malicious prosecution, worst one, wrongful taking of children under color of law, and all too often children taken into state custody. They end up getting trafficked. It's the source of child trafficking is the government wrongfully taking children. And there's a myriad of other civil rights violations and crimes that are perpetrated under color of law by our corrupt judiciary. Our third governor, Governor Carroll, he said that the character of a state is so reflected in its judiciary that it requires your constant attention at all times. Governor Carroll was addressing the joint houses of the Tennessee General Assembly. I think it was about 1822 or something like that. And he's saying, the character of a state. The character of a state is a government that's Republican in character or form, that adheres to its constitution. The government is absolutely violating its constitution. We have to step up, or our children are going to pay a far greater price. So our first step in correcting everything that's wrong in this problem is we have to ensure and demand that government readheres to the provisions of the Constitution. So I'm going to share my screen here with you, and I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to show you proof how government is acting in violation, and they're pretty much just saying, we don't care, nothing you can do about it. We can do something about it, and I'm going to show you how. But let me share my screen here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So first thing is let's look. This is the Tennessee Constitution, Article 6. Let me jump back up here. So I'm looking at Article 6, Judicial Department. The Tennessee Constitution establishes our form of government. This form of government was established by the founders, who suffered great tyranny and oppression under the British Crown. And so they tried to prevent that. So when they created our form of government, they said that judges of the Supreme and Inferior Courts, they shall not be allowed any fees or perquisites of office. Here's the important part: nor hold any other office of trust or profit under this state or the United States. The government is in express violation. The government is in express violation of the Tennessee Constitution with that. So I wrote a complaint. Here's what happened. Let me take this off of screen share just for a second here, if I can get this up. Oh, there it is. So in 1971, Tennessee created the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct. And the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct, it used to be comprised solely of judges. And so you've got the judiciary overseeing the judiciary. And that's a conflict of interest. It's a violation of the separation of powers. And these judges are holding expressly prohibited offices. So I'm gonna take you back to my screen here again. So I wrote a complaint this was addressed to the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct. And I stated to them, all the members of the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct who are judges or chancellors are holding expressly prohibited second offices of trust. This incontrovertible fact proves that judge members of the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct are constitutionally incompetent. They're in violation of their oaths of office, and they're in violation of Supreme Court Rule 10, Code of Judicial Conduct, which requires them to uphold the law. Such conduct is incompatible with the trust and confidence placed in them as members of the Tennessee judiciary. Judge and chancellor members of the Board of Judicial Conduct must immediately resign their prohibited second office of trust as members of the board. Failure to immediately resign such prohibited plural office is evidence of intentional violation of oath to uphold the Constitution of this state, and it's treason to the Constitution. So remember, Tennessee Constitution, right here, nor shall any judge hold any other office of trust or profit under this state. So what is an office of trust? So let's go look at that. A high school student can understand this stuff. Black's Law Dictionary here. It says that a position of duty, trust, or authority especially conferred by a governmental authority for public purpose. In the constitutional sense, the term applies to an authority to exercise some portion of the sovereign power, either making, executing, or administering laws. Public office, the right, authority, or duty created and conferred by law. An individual is invested with some portion of the sovereign functions of the government for the benefit of the public. An agency for the state, the duties of which involve their performance, the exercise of some portion of the sovereign power. And from 1890, this stuff was important. They working on this, and I'm going to show you some of the history on this. It's an office whose duties and functions require the exercise of discretion, judgment, experience, and skill is an office of trust. So this was in my complaint to the Board of Judicial Conduct. And so I'm like, well, why are second offices prohibited? In the ratifying debates of our federal Constitution, in 1787, James Wilson from Pennsylvania, he said the incompatibility clause, prohibited second offices, seeks to prevent corruption by ensuring that the mere acceptance of an office effectually destroys the ends for which it was offered. And the framers, this is from, I'm going to pull this off of share here just for a second. The framers, I'm pulling this out of, this is, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but this is from Cornell Law Review. One person, one office. There's an incompatibility clause in our state and federal Constitution that one person, one office. And in Tennessee Constitution, they're expressly prohibited. So let me put you back on screen share. The framers hated plural office holding. It grew from bitter experience from the English Whigs who greatly influenced the framers and had for years complained about the corrupting effect. I mean, when you think about it, why did the founders put into the Tennessee Constitution? Why did they put into the Constitution, no judge shall hold any other office of trust or profit? Why did they do that? They knew that judges, magistrates are easily corrupted. And that's why they put this into the Tennessee Constitution, was to prevent corruption. So let me take you, I'm going to take you back on screen share here. So the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct, this is from their website about the Board of Judicial Conduct. The regulation of judicial conduct is critical to preserving the integrity of the judiciary and enhancing public confidence in the judicial system. The Board of Judicial Conduct was created by the legislature, and it's intended to provide an orderly, efficient method for inquiring into the physical, mental, and moral fitness of judges. And the judge's commission of an act that reflects unfavorably on the judiciary. That is an office of trust. there is no doubt that the Board of Judicial Conduct is an office of trust. When I sent this complaint, I'm gonna share my screen again here. This is the answer I got. So I went to the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct and I said, y'all are holding prohibited offices. You swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. You're not only upholding the Constitution, you are in express violation, holding a prohibited office. So this is the answer. This is the answer that I got. He's saying, you know, the legislature did this. It's not our fault. You know, I'm holding an office of trust because the legislature gave me power. I don't care if the legislature unconstitutionally put you in a public office. You know it's wrong. You swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. And here he said, so he's talking about, you know, the statute that creates this Tennessee Code annotated that created the Board of Judicial Conduct. He said, no, I didn't mention it. No, I didn't, because it's unconstitutional. I don't care. He said it doesn't address the fact that the authority for the Board of Judicial Conduct comes from the Tennessee legislature, and you place blame on the violation of the Tennessee Constitution on the Board of Judicial Conduct. I don't blame you. I really don't. I don't care. It's unconstitutional that you're holding a prohibited office. You've effectively admitted here that you're holding an unconstitutional office. So he put it on here. He mentioned, you know, a Facebook post that I did. I made it public. I'm going to complain to them that these judge members of the Board of Judicial Conduct are doing this. So he takes a social media post, and like judges do, they don't put my whole post. They pick and choose, you know, what they want. And yeah, I did say these things. The founders of this country very often mocked the British magistrates, the British corruption that went out there. Absolutely, they mocked them. That's where Yankee Doodle Dandy came from. And I use that in my videos because I am mocking them because they are acting in corruption, in violation of the state constitution. But he went on and he said, finally, please note, I'm sending a copy of your complaint, written protest, remonstrance, a copy of this letter and a social media post to the chairs of the judiciary committees of the Senate and the House and the chairs of the Government Ops Committee. I'm going to show you, I've been to these guys already, but here's who he copied. Senator Bell, chair of Senate Judiciary, Senator Roberts, chair of Government Ops, Representative Curcio, chair of the House Judiciary. That's actually wrong. It's actually called the Criminal Justice Committee. And then he said Representative Iris Rutter, who's the vice chair of the Government Ops Committee. That's wrong too. Maybe it was right at the time, but that's not who is holding those offices right now. And that's not the name of the committee. Maybe Judge Gay is incompetent too. I don't know, but it's not the Judiciary Committee anymore. It's Criminal Justice. And Representative Rutter is not the vice chair right now. Maybe she was, maybe it changed. I don't know. I have done so much to try to address this problem. I've remonstrated the first day of the session of the last session. I remonstrated to them, and I'll show you a copy of that. Let me share my screen again here. This was a petition of remonstrance that I filed with the General Assembly. This was received and recorded. And I'm going to show you a video of this. This was received and recorded in both journals of the House and the Senate. And I said that the Board of Judicial Conduct is an unconstitutional transfer of power. It's in violation of the separation of powers doctrine, and they're holding prohibited offices of trust. You can see, you know, from the first page, this was received by the chief clerk of the Senate. It was also received by the chief clerk of the House. So I went to the General Assembly And they've effectively ignored me about judges holding these prohibited offices. So here's an announcement. This you've got to watch this. This is extremely powerful. This was the announcement of my remonstrance before the entire Tennessee House of Representatives. Every citizen has this right. It's just 39 seconds. I want you to watch this.
Next order, Mr. Clerk. Petitions and memorials. Mr. Clerk. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Rule 15, we have a brief statement regarding a petition of remonstrance statement filed by Representative Halsey. It reads, I'm approaching the Tennessee House Chief Clerk on behalf of Mr. John Gentry with this petition and statement. Involves a petition of grievances. 1, unconstitutional and void statutes. 2, failure to address grievances. 3, judicial reform. 4, reinstitution of constitutionally guaranteed rights. Signed, Bud Halsey, Tennessee State Representative.
So that right, every citizen has a constitutional right to petition for redress of grievance or other proper purpose by address or remonstrance. It is our most powerful constitutional right. I went to them. I went to the General Assembly and said, this is unconstitutional. You can't do this. It's got to stop. You have to, these judges cannot hold prohibited offices of trust. So I went to the Tennessee General Assembly. I've also gone to the courts. I do this at incredible expense to myself. There's no pot of gold. I'm not seeking any class action or damages. I don't want any money. I want government to start restoring its proper form and providing justice to the people. That's all I want out of this. I do this at great expense and time to myself. So I remonstrated to them. Let me show you this. I've also been fighting in our courts. And I'm telling you, it cost me thousands of dollars paying for court reporter fees, paying for filing fees, and all the little garbage that they come up with that they force me to pay. I'm fighting for you people out there. I'm fighting for justice, to reform, to restore our proper form of government. And the least that you guys can do is perform your civic duty and stand with me. That's all I'm asking. So let me share. I'm going to show you real quick how I'm fighting in court for this too. So this is in the Tennessee Court of Appeals here. Let me bump this up and play this. I'm just going to do a short. It's a petition by address. And issue number 3, there is no doubt, pursuant to Article 1 of the Tennessee Constitution, that citizens have a right to reform government, and pursuant to Section 23, to petition for reform by address. The need for reform is obvious. We have an incredible problem with judges that are not adhering to the law. Some of them corrupt. This is admitted in Government Operations Committee in the legislative houses. And that problem is the result of judges holding prohibited second offices of trust in the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct in plain violation of Article 6, Section 7 of the Tennessee Constitution, as well as it usurps legislative power of judicial oversight. And when the government is acting in violation of its Constitution, it must be reformed. And government has a duty to hear and decide such a grievance. And it was an abuse of discretion and error of the court to do. So I'm fighting in the legislative houses. I'm fighting in our courts let me take this off the screen share here. So I'm fighting in the legislative houses. I'm fighting in the courts. I testify on committees that what they're doing is absolutely wrong. This Board of Judicial Conduct, since its inception in 1971, has never once, not a single time, recommended removal or impeachment of a single judge, despite rampant corruption that's going on in our court system, literally destroying lives of the people. This has absolutely got to stop. So I'm asking you guys to perform your civic duty. You know what this reminds me of. I don't know if I saved this. Yeah, I did. I'm going to bring up one more and share my screen with you here again. Just a second. Let me get this up. So this is Patrick Henry's "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. Where's my mouse? Okay. So this was Patrick Henry's speech. He says he's talking about the British are coming to invade us, and he says, have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. We have held the subject up in every light of which it is capable, but it has all been in vain. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find that have not already been exhausted? Let us not, I beseech you, sir, deceive ourselves. Sir, we have done everything that could be done to avert the storm which is coming on. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves before the throne and have implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and the parliament. Our petitions have been slighted. Our remonstrances have produced additional violence and insult. Our supplications have been disregarded, and we have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain after these things, may we indulge the fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer any room for hope if we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve the inviolate, those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left to us. That was Patrick Henry just before we declared independence. I don't want to fight. I don't want to take up arms. I'm trying to play the middleman here and implore government to restore its proper form. Judges are expressly prohibited from holding second offices of trust. And it's not just the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct. Our Chief Justice, Tennessee Supreme Court Chief Justice Jeffrey Bivens, is holding a also prohibited second office of trust in the Tennessee Code Commission. And the Tennessee Code Commission, they have statutory, it's unconstitutional, statutory authority to compile, edit, and annotate Tennessee Code annotated. That's our statutory law. And he had the Code Commission has authority to prepare and present bills. That's legislative power. Can you imagine if the Chief Justice Roberts of the United States Supreme Court said, hey, Congress, I got a bill for y'all to consider? It's ridiculous. Chief Justice Bivens has no business holding a second office of trust. Whole nother topic about the corruption that goes on with the Tennessee Code Commission. This stuff, it's got to stop. This is the breakdown. We cannot have justice if we don't have fair courts. And we cannot have fair courts if we do not have judicial accountability. And with the Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct, there is no accountability. It is based on their own reports. They dismiss 100% of complaints against judges. With these guys perpetrating crimes and violating rights under color of law. They're attorneys in black robes. The Board of Judicial Conduct, I've stated it in federal court, uncontested. They're criminals protecting criminals. So I need you guys. Patrick Henry said, "What's left to us? You've seen my work. I just showed it to you. I've petitioned by remonstrance. I've testified in the General Assembly repeatedly, and I have been spurned from the foot of the throne. I've gone to court, and they say, oh, nothing we can do here. I've done everything that I possibly can, but I do not believe that violence, taking up arms is necessary. Number one, put me in office, make me governor. I guarantee you that agency will be abolished and the House will once again take up its duty to protect its citizenry from corrupt judges. I guarantee it. If you elect me, I will make it happen. Also, I'm going to show you this next one. And you guys, you have a civic duty. If you're watching this, I want you to perform your civic duty. You have a duty to yourself, to your children, and to your fellow citizens. I want you to call those members, and I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to show you who to call. So Judge Gay, who's the Board of Judicial Conduct, he said that he sent his or a copy of my letter, or his letter, a copy of my complaint saying these guys are holding prohibited offices. He sent it to the chairs of the judiciary of the House and the Senate. Well, Mike Bell is the chair of the committee. So you go to the Tennessee General Assembly website, you go to committees on here, you click Senate committees, and then you click on the Judiciary Committee, and you can see Mike Bell is the chair. So supposedly, according to Judge Gay, Mike Bell got a copy of this. Email him. Don't do it by phone call. Email them. Follow up a phone call and say, are you going to answer my email? Mike Bell, are you going to uphold the Constitution, or are you a traitor to the Constitution like Judge Gay and all the other members of the Board of Judicial Conduct? Are you a traitor like them too? Or are you going to uphold your oath to support the Constitution of this state? That's what you write in an email. You call them, you start doing it. The next one, Judge Gay, he said the Judiciary Committee, I called the clerk today. The Judiciary Committee, apparently it's been renamed. It's now the Criminal Justice. So Michael Curcio and he was copied on that letter from Judge Gay. So I want you to email Michael Curcio. I think he's a good guy, but I want you to email him and say, Michael Curcio, are you going to uphold your oath, or are you a traitor to the Constitution? This Board of Judicial Conduct must be abolished, and the members of the House must once again take up their duty to provide judicial oversight. He also said that he copied the chair of the Government Operations Committee. That's Carrie Roberts. I want you to email Carrie Roberts and say, are you going to uphold your oath to support the Constitution of this state, or are you a traitor and going to allow judges to remain in expressly prohibited offices of trust? And then he said Iris Rudder. Judge Gay said Iris Rudder for the government ops. Maybe that was true when he wrote that letter. But John Reagan is the chair of the Government Operations Committee. So you email John Reagan and you ask, are you a traitor to this state? Are you a traitor to your oath to uphold the Constitution? Or are you going to stand in defense of the Constitution like John Gentry is and remove these judges from expressly prohibited offices of trust? I think he said vice chair for Reedy. That's who he sent it to, was Iris Rudder, vice chair. Well, according to the website right now, the vice chair is Jay Reedy. So email him too and say, are you going to uphold your oath? And when I say email, just click on their picture and you click on this and it's going to bring up your browser. So I need you guys out there to start performing your civic duty. I'm doing it. I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not doing. I'm spending thousands of dollars of money that I cannot afford to pay for court reporters, to pay for filing fees. I spend hundreds, thousands of hours writing briefs, proving that I'm right, that judges cannot hold expressly prohibited offices. So I want you guys to start performing your civic duty. And I guarantee you, if enough of us stand up in defense of the Constitution, in defense of our form of government, it will be restored. And when judges are removed from these prohibited offices and the legislative houses take back their power to provide judicial oversight, to impeach or remove these judges, there is going to be the greatest healing of this republic. Our citizenry is going to have justice once again. And whatever your dissatisfaction is, it's going to be restored. So you guys know who I am. My name is John Gentry. I'm a warrior, Force Recon Marine for 8 years. I'm fighting in the courts. I'm fighting in the legislative houses for you people. And I'm not even in office, and I'm fighting for you. So I ask you to perform your duty and stand with me. Share this. Start a watch party after this is done and get your friends to watch what I'm doing. I'm fighting for you people out there. I'm fighting for the children of this country. And I guarantee you, when we fix Tennessee, every state is going to have to follow. And we're going to restore this entire republic, starting here in Tennessee first. We're the volunteer state. Let's get it done. So my name is John Gentry. Tell your friends about the work I'm doing. Put out the word, vote John Gentry for governor of the state of Tennessee in 2022. Every citizen that knows about my work stands with me. I know how to run this state. I know how to restore the proper form of government. So thank you for taking time with me. God bless you all for learning about this stuff. It may seem complicated. It's not. A high school student can understand this stuff. So I'm going to be doing town hall meetings, talking about the corruption in government, educating you on the Tennessee Constitution, educating you on your rights, teaching you how to be a citizen again. Being a citizen is not just voting. It's much, much more. And it is a duty you have to yourself, to your children, and to your fellow citizens. And it is the people, only the people, who can defend this republic and our way of life. So thank you again. God bless. God speak to us all. And in God we trust. I'll see you back here next Tuesday night. Y'all have a good night.